All right, so this is Mark, and I did a video, part 1, talking about the new study Qur'an put out by HarperCollins. And in that video, we compared the study Qur'an with tafsir or commentary to a Muhammad Asad Qur'an with commentary and a Yusuf Ali Qur'an with commentary. In this video, part 2, we are going to compare the study Qur'an with the new NIV Zondervan Study Bible and the ESV Study Bible. Now, why would we compare the study Qur'an with two basically Protestant study Bibles? The reason is because the design of the study Qur'an was basically the building of it, the design of it, the compiling of it was basically to mimic what in the West would be understood as a typical study Bible kind of concept for those either academics or Christians wanting to learn about Islam, or primarily Westerners. That's also why the use of the English language in the book. So we're going to compare it today just so you get a little bit better idea of how it compares. In some ways, the Study Qur'an is a new groundbreaking book. In some ways very different from typical Arabic or Arabic English Qur'ans, and meant to mimic more of a Western style, something Westerners would be a little bit more comfortable with, a little bit more they would understand a little better. So the first thing, just to suggest, the study Qur'an is an English Qur'an, meaning that if you haven't already seen my other video, there's no Arabic. That is pretty much a liability in my view, and probably in most Muslims' view, is that there's nothing to reference back either in studying with Imam or in any way studying if you're learning classical Arabic. To me, that is very limiting. But that's just one thing to note. Another thing to note just quickly is even though the study Qur'an was done by all Muslims rather than Western academics, I myself am not a Muslim. I'm a follower of Jesus, and so this video is primarily for those Westerners interested in learning more about the Qur'an, or Christians seeking to learn more about Islam, that type of thing. So this video may or may not be applicable to many Muslims. I myself have read the Qur'an maybe completely, maybe 5 or 6 times, and partially many more, as well as I have the complete Bukhari Arabic English Hadith that have been reading. So some knowledge of the Qur'an, but my Arabic, I did study a little bit of classical Quranic Arabic, and also a little bit of spoken Arabic, but that was many years ago, and so my Arabic is very weak. Therefore, my reading of like the Muhammad Asad Qur'an. Okay, so how do these different volumes compare? How does the study Qur'an, being a brand new kind of concept, a new translation, created by HarperCollins to reflect study Bibles that somebody could use in the West in an academic sense, how does it compare? So in many ways, they're very similar in the fact that they're all designed with book introductions and textual commentary, and then essays. So as soon as you get in here, you're going to see a general introduction. You're going to see some articles about the translation. You're going to see some articles about with credits, and then you're going to have a book introduction. And the book introductions, in this case, look kind of like this, and we'll compare them to the other versions. But here's a book introduction, basically trying to let you know where this sort of came from, its histories, some of the dating, some of the concepts that are happening in it theologically and otherwise, and then the actual translation of the text, and then commentary. The text, as you can see, is full width, and the commentary is in a double column down below. A little bit different width size on the text and the commentary, and we'll compare this with the study Bibles here in a moment, as well as the paper quality and ghosting. But so very typical. You have an introduction, and then you have passage, and then commentary. Now, to compare, here again, if we go to the Torah or to the Old Testament, to say Exodus, here you'll see we have a book introduction. The book introduction here is a little bit different because we'll have a title and author. We'll have it broken up a little bit differently, and you'll see the use of color. There's a little bit more color and images in Study Bible. And then we'll have an outline, and then we start the book. Now, this is very common in the newest Study Bibles, lots of color. We wouldn't expect this in the Qur'an, uses of images. Not faces, you don't usually see faces in the Study Bibles, but still use of maps, use of photos, use of photos of archaeological elements that tie in to the passage or to the book. But here you'll see that, again, full width passage, commentary. There is a use of a slight color on the commentary, on the Bible notes, as we call them, and then cross-referencing. Now, cross-referencing is something that you won't find in the Study Quran. That would be very nice if they had that, but I don't see that they have this in the Study Quran. But again, there's book introductions. On the ESV, you're going to see something somewhat similar. You're going to see full width column. Now, one thing you will see a little bit differently too, little variations, is in, say, the Old Testament in the Torah, you'll see, say, an introduction to the historical books. So there's divisions between the poetical, the historical, the prophetical, and so you'll have an introduction, an essay about critical scholarship, about God's promises, themes, and then you'll have an introduction, a book introduction. So the book introduction for the ESV Study Bible has author and title, date, theme, purpose, occasion, background, destruction of the Canaanites, key themes, a map, your outline, and then your book. Text and commentary. Commentary here is broken up by actual key lines, but you have one column across, double column, cross references. Again, use of maps, use of some color. And you'll see the comments in the, bring up a little bit something here about the comments. In the ESV Study Bible, you'll see the comments tend to stay half or less of the book, and that's because they also give you long book introductions, and long book introductions take up some of the need of having lots and lots of comments per verse. So you'll see the commentary is down here, and it tends to be more scholarly and less interpretive, but again, that just depends on some of the comments in here are a little bit more devotional, and but I wanted to see the amount of commentary. All right. Now let's go back to the Study Quran for a moment, just because I want you to notice again, as we pointed out, the amount of commentary for the amount of the passage. So you have a lot of commentary, and this is very typical. The amount of commentary per passage. So this is almost, some people have said this isn't really a Qur'an, this is more like a tafsir, because it's there is so much commentary. And I'll talk about the notes here in a moment. I haven't read completely through this volume. I've just begun it. I just got it. I've just begun reading through it. So I don't want to comment too much on the notes, except to say that some people have said that the classical Arabic commentary, and there are footnotes in the back to where the different commentaries are coming from, who they are, and what sources are used. But many people have mentioned about the eclectic collection here of comments. You'll have comments from more fundamental Sunni understandings, some traditional Sunni understandings, Shia interpretations, and even Sufi commentaries or mystical interpretive or allegorical use of verses in the Qur'an. So the notes here reflect some of those different traditions and some of those different offshoots of interpretive reading of the Qur'an. All right, but as you know, double columns always indicate commentary. So quite a bit of commentary in this volume. Now, something else about the commentary. I wanted you to see a little bit. Let me try to get both these volumes together so that you can see the size of the fonts. Let's see if we can do this here. And I could try to take a screenshot of this. But if you look, the text of the Qur'an is larger than the font here in this is the NIV Zondervan Study Bible. And the footnotes are also larger in the actual, in the Qur'an. So both the footnotes and the font tend to be larger and easier to read. Now, if you've seen my video comparing the NIV Study Bible with the NIV Zondervan Study Bible, which are two different study Bibles now currently out that use the NIV text, the one I just showed you, this one over here, the Zondervan Study Bible, has a really tight font. The font is a condensed font. The font in the notes is a condensed font. I find it difficult to read, and I find it very small. And I'd like to point out that the font used here in the Study Qur'an is a very beautiful font. It's easy to read. It's very open. It's large. Even the notes are very clear. The paper is very white. I'll talk more about the paper here in a second. But very easy on the eyes compared to the Zondervan Study Bible. And in fact, I and a number of other people have actually noted and critiqued that aspect of the Zondervan Study Bible as just being very difficult to read. Now let's get to another page here. I'm going to try to again compare these two volumes for you so you can see. Let me reach around my tripod and bring this up right into the camera. All right, so here you go. So this is the Study Qur'an on the left, both the translation and the footnotes, the commentary. And on your right is the ESV Study Bible, quite a bit smaller font, and then the footnotes down there at the bottom, again quite a bit smaller. So if that gives you any indication of the size of the fonts are much easier in the Study Qur'an to read for long periods of time. Paper is about the same whiteness. If you were to look at all three of these together, there's not much difference at all in the whiteness and brightness of the paper. It's a nice paper. Let me highlight this though. One feature of the Study Qur'an in comparison with both these other volumes is this ghosting that you see. It's most evident someplace like here. where you can see the next page right through this. And in fact, as noted, I don't remember if I noted this in my last video, not only can you see the ghosting on the back side of this sheet, but you can actually see the ghosting of the next page behind that. So the ghosting on this volume is pretty bad. And the reason for this ghosting is this paper is very, very thin. This is a very thin vellum type of onion skin paper. It reminds me of maybe a really old King James Bible where it's almost clear. The vellum is so thin. So these pages are very thin. And you've got to be very careful handling this volume because the pages are just they're just very delicate. Now, in comparison, these pages tend to feel, they don't feel much thicker, but it's hard to describe that it actually is much more substantial. Less bleed through even with color. There's a little bit, but not as much. It's kind of going to be hard to see in this video. Even when you have photos, that's where you're going to see some bleed. You get a photo like right here on the back side of a page. So a little bit of bleed there. And let me move over to this side and show you the ESV Study Bible. So even less bleed here. It's really hard to see any bleed on these pages. And we're talking minuscule amounts of weight, but we're talking about the ghosting is nowhere near as bad, and the paper just feels more substantial. So even though all three volumes have beautiful paper, and the paper in the Study Qur'an feels very quality, it is very thin in comparison. So for size of these volumes, on the ESV Study Bible, we're looking at about 2,750 pages. We're looking at about 1,900 and so pages in the Study Qur'an, and in the ESV Study Bible, we're looking at about 3,000 pages. Now, all three of these volumes use the same kind of indexing in the back. There'll be lists of sources, concordance, and then maps back here. So you'll have maps of Jerusalem and Holy Land, different maps. All right. This volume again, looking at, we're going to see maps at the back and colophon. A daily reading plan is in the back of this one as well, and then your index. Okay. Study Qur'an follows this similar style with maps in the back, the various battles and conquests, things you're going to read about as you read through, and you can find out what they're talking about. Map of Medina, maps of Hijaz region, so maps, index. One thing that the Study Qur'an also has in it is various hadith citations in the back. So what you'll see here is you'll see a nice use of red, the different citations that were used in the comments, and that's a nice thing. Now the Qur'an, I didn't mention color a little bit. Let me get back to color really fast. The Qur'an uses color just red, and it uses it simply to call out the verses and the location and the chapter numbers and the footnotes. You'll see these small little callouts in red. So very subdued use of color, but very beautiful, very classic, very attractive. As noted, the ESV uses color for the page numbering, for the top book you're in, for different highlighted notes that they really want to bring out, and then already mentioned was use of in the introductions or in charts or things like this. the use of color. So the use of color, a little bit more color, obviously, here in the ESV, and then when you get to the Zondervan Study Bible, quite a bit more color. Obviously, full color is one of the things they're stressing, with the use of shading in the notes, photographs, callouts of color here in the divisions, callouts of color in the page number, in the chapter numbers, that kind of thing. So quite a bit more color. Now, one other thing that all three of these volumes have that actually started with the ESV Study Bible was the use of essays. Now, we've already talked about the introductions and the how to read the Bible, how to read the Qur'an in the beginning, and the translation notes, prefaces, and those kinds of things. But one thing in addition that the different study Bibles, and now also the Study Qur'an, also has is this list of articles and resources. So there you can see some of them, and these include biblical ethics, biblical doctrine, the person of Christ, how to interpret the Bible, how to read the Bible, the canon of the Old Testament, the canon of the New Testament, the reliability of the Bible manuscripts, Old Testament and New Testament, archaeology, the Septuagint, how the New Testament quotes and interprets the Old Testament. So quite a lot of these essays. Oops. Now the essays are all here in the back. And they look a little like this. Like there's interpreting the Bible. Historical overview of interpreting the Bible, different reformers throughout history, how to read the Bible. So these articles are in the back, these essays. Now, the Study Qur'an also has a series of articles in the back, and this is one of them about Quranic commentaries, Quranic Arabic, the Islamic view of the Qur'an and other religions, essays. Right, here we go. So here are the essays. How to read the Qur'an, death and the afterlife in the Qur'an, the Quranic view of sacred history, other religions. So the Qur'an also has a series of not only book introductions, but essays. Now, some people like that, and some people find great fault with that these essays are being bound in the book. The Zondervan Study Bible has it as well, the law, sin, creation, and these are scholarly articles calling out and helping people to understand different themes that are within either the Bible or the Qur'an, as it were. So they are helpful. Just realize that they're not, everyone might not accept a particular interpretation or a particular point of view. They are what they are. The ESV comes with a free digital version of the online study Bible, and the Zondervan does as well come with a free access code and a free digital version. The Study Qur'an does not. The Study Qur'an does not have, you have to pay like $20 more if you want a digital version of the Study Qur'an, which is unfortunate. Lastly, just to look at if you take off the slip covers, the Study Qur'an has a beautiful gold leaf, good quality binding, and a little bookmark. I'm trying to compare apples with apples here in terms of hardback volumes, not leather bound or anything like that. The the Zondervan Study Bible has a laid finish, very classy, kind of scholarly looking cover, subdued, just a gray, very subdued look. And the ESV Study Bible probably has the least fantastic of a cover without the slip cover on it. If you take the slip cover off, it looks very similar to, it's got a little bit of a seal there. ESV Study Bible by Crossway. As you can tell, I've been using mine a fair amount. But that's the cover for the ESV Study Bible. So in that case, the Study Qur'an is a very beautiful volume. Very apropos for Islamic art and geometric patterning. It reflects well. It's a beautiful volume, even without being leather or anything like that. It's a beautiful volume. It seems like it's bound very well. Sewn binding. Ribbon, like I said. And so that is an introduction to the study Qur'an for those who are more familiar with either like a Zondervan Study Bible or a Thompson Chain Study Bible or the ESV Study Bible. Positives, very approachable for Westerners. Great book introductions. A pretty good translation. Pretty contemporary except for a few places. And probably more commentary than you want. But great reference, making the Quran approachable for Westerners. A couple of things that may be the downside. Some of the commentaries are very eclectic. They could cause confusion, trying to understand who believes a particular point of view or a particular interpretation. And there's no cross-referencing, which I don't care for. I would love to have cross-referencing in here, and I would love to have the Arabic alongside the English. And maybe a little bit thicker paper. The paper here is very, very thin. But other than that, this is a great volume, and I hope this video helps you to see the differences and similarities between these 3 different study volumes. Thank you very much. Have a great day.